Merry Christmas, everyone. You should be seeing this on Christmas Day.
You have a Santa hat.
I should have a Santa hat. You're right, I should. But I don't. Anyway, so, and if you're seeing this first thing Christmas morning, shame on you. You should be opening up presents and drinking hot chocolate and
Spending time
doing the Merry Christmas thing. That's what you should be doing. Or in church. Anyway, it's Jesus' birthday, you know. Anyway, I'm just saying. But when you do see this, it'll be somewhere around Christmas. So we're moving on with this sign. Now, the last scene that I said on Monday's video was that I was going to trim this thing out and then, you know, we'd come back to the layout. But I completely forgot this thing has got a shape to it. So, and I told you guys that it was kind of a tooth shape. Vicky laughed. It's not really a tooth shape. It's more of a shield kind of thing. But anyway, that's something that they drew out, that they wanted something around like that shape. So, and that's in essence 2 foot by 2 foot, something like that. Anyway, so what I'm going to do is show you how I'm going to go about that. Now, if you go back and you watch the video that I did like over 4 years ago, 4.5 years ago, video 146. And that's where I literally used a grid paper and I cut some shapes and showed you this process. And if you go watch that, you'll see what I mean. But in essence, because this shape is the same on both sides, here's what I did. I took a piece of this, this is just packing paper that we buy, 2 foot wide by 3 foot long. And we buy this by a bundle from Uline, and it's just becomes packing paper. So here's what I did. I took a piece of that, I folded it in half, and then I took a pencil and I drew out my shape, basically, or half of my shape. And it kind of goes like that, doesn't it? So I kind of just drew it by hand with a pencil. I drew it out here a little bit large, and I didn't like that, so I kind of reshaped it a little bit. And so that is my shape. Now on 146, what I did was I took my shape that I made and then I put them on MDF and I cut a pattern. And then I cut it with the router. In this particular instance, I don't know if I'm ever going to use this shape again. So all I'm going to do really is I'm just going to put this on there. I'm going to tape it in a few areas. Let me see here. Again, this is two-sided. So this stuff I will fill in. So I'm going to tape this in place. Put a few pieces of tape on it, spray it, and then I'm going to take it out to the bandsaw. It could be done with a jigsaw. I don't really need to show you guys that. You guys can figure that out. But again, this is a one-time pattern, so I'm just going to do it this quick and easy, fast way. And then I'm going to go out, probably use the bandsaw and cut it out with a bandsaw. So you guys cut your shape however you want to. I just wanted to show you the process that I'm going to go through on this. And then I'll sand it down, get that shape made. Then when we come back, then we'll start the layout process. So anyway, guys, go watch 146, and that will go into a lot more detail of how I did this. So we'll be right back. Hey guys, all right, so we're back. So I got my board cut, but I did it a little bit different. I decided to go ahead and use a jigsaw. I got a pretty decent jigsaw here. I could have done it on the bandsaw, but the table is pretty small on the bandsaw, and actually the jigsaw, there was no real tight turns, so the jigsaw actually worked out pretty well. Then what I did, I just kind of roughed it out. Then what I did is I basically just used my little disc sander and just kind of did a finish edge on it, and it actually came out pretty well. I'm pretty happy with it. So it's pretty much the shape that I want it to be. Now what I had to do is, like I talked about before, is I had to fill in some of these divots and defects and stuff. I've already done and sanded off this side, but again, remembering this is a two-sided sign, so now I have to fill these. So again, I love the Star Bond stuff. I'm going to, in some of these, I'm going to use the brown, the medium brown, which this bottle kind of got jacked up. It leaked a little bit, but I'm not going to use it in there. I'm going to use it in here. And a couple other places. Really should be doing this outside, by the way. I'm doing it in here just as just because I want to do it on camera. So several of these are the brown will work well, but some of them I am gonna use the clear. Excuse me.
Easy for you to say.
Woo. Use the thick clear. So what you really want to pay attention to, guys and gals, is you don't want any kind of a defect that's got a little crack that black paint, that the black ink or the black primer can get down in. So that's what I'm being very, very careful about, is I want to make sure and do enough fill that none of my black spray can get down in there. So, thanks again to Star Bond for being one of my sponsors. I absolutely love this stuff. And you guys, if you guys want to buy some of this stuff, there'll be a code across the screen now, I hope, or down below. Actually, Make a Wood Sign. If you go to starbond.com and you use the code Make a Wood Sign, I think you'll get 10% off. Anyway, thanks again, Star Bond. And so I'm going to finish this up, sand it off, then we're going to get into the layout, finally. All right, folks, I want to go over a little bit about the layout process. I get questions on a regular basis. How do I go about spacing and laying signs out? And that, you know, thinking back, probably the layout process was the toughest for me to really learn at the beginning, just because I didn't really know much about signage back 50 years ago, and I was just trying to make stuff that looked right and looked balanced. And so over the years I've become kind of obsessed with balance and the way things, and Vicky's shaking her head and laughing.
Every time we go in someplace and a picture's crooked.
Yeah, or if letters upside down or whatever. And those of you that have got hooked on this, you know what I'm talking about. It can become an obsession. So let me go kind of through some just rules of thumb that I go by. This sign, I will, when I get ready to spray it, I'll turn it this way so everything, but from a spacing standpoint. So the basic, so one of the main things that I do is I take the size of letters that I'm going to use, and I already knew I wanted 2-inch. These are all Bookman, by the way. 2-inch outset, and then these are going to be 1.5 inset. There's 4 lines here. I'm going to say antiques, collectibles, patches, and sewing. So what I try to always do is have a balance top to bottom. So what I've got here is I've got a little over 2.5-inch gap, but remember, these are going to be outset, so there's going to be a cloud around them. So that means that with a cloud, it's going to be somewhere around 2 inches. So I've come up about 2 inches off of the bottom, 1 7/8 inches, something like that. And then I kind of like reverse it from the bottom up and see where my spacing is going to be. These again are going to have a cloud. These are all going to be bulleted like single line, antiques, collectibles, patches, and sewing. So that's what I do from a top to bottom standpoint, just to kind of make sure. Now, how I got this arch is this is just a tool that I made myself. Gosh, this is probably 20 years old. So what I would do, especially when I've got a flat up here, I drew down about where I wanted this to be, and then what I did was I put this arch on there, measured down and came over and realized where my line was. You can see a second line here. That's where I originally started, but I realized it was too high. I had too much space in between, so I dropped it down about an inch, drew my line again, and then this line here looks like it's about balanced underneath there, so I'll go with the spacing here, whatever that spacing is, which is about 5/8, and I'll drop this down to about 5/8 that way, and that'll be where this sits, and then there'll be a little bit of space here before my inset lines. So, and then from the left to right, obviously I just measure from the left to the right, make my marks, and move on from there. And then I'll go through and I'll straighten all the letters. One thing that you want to remember, and I talk about this not enough actually, this is just notes that I made when I was talking to the customer and we were going through it. As I was getting ready to do all this, what I always try to do nowadays is I check the spelling on everything. I had collectibles spelled with an A in here, but I went and looked it up and did like a spell check, and that's supposed to be an I, which would have ruined the whole sign had I not taken the time. It took me an extra 2 or 3 minutes to go and do word searches on all of these words to make sure that everything was spelled right. Take the extra time, guys. Check, double check, quadruple check. Always take the extra time, because it's on a sign you're gonna have some blood, sweat, and tears on. Make sure you got your spelling right. So that is about it. I'm going to go ahead and lay all this stuff out, get it sprayed again, then I have to turn it over. Then I have to turn it over and spray the other side. And when we come back, this will all be done. So again, remember that, I'm going to probably use the primer or the ink on this and spray it. Make sure and do it just, don't overspray. Take your time. This is redwood, so I don't have any sanding sealer on this redwood. I normally only do that with light colored woods like pine or spruce, that kind of thing that has a tendency to bleed. Redwood, I've never really had an issue with it, but if you overspray, it will bleed on you. But I've kind of learned to have a touch over a period of years with the spray can. So just make sure you don't overspray, guys. So anyway, we'll come back, we'll have this laid out, and we'll get into the carving. Hey guys, all right, so we got it all laid out, got my lines drawn, pretty happy with the layout. I like the way it looks so far. If you guys go back and how I talked about double checking the lettering, the spelling, I almost spelled this, if you go back, I almost spelled this without an H. Chloride has an H in it. Anyway, so I got both sides laid out, and now I am going to start carving these. These are all Bookman, 2-inch Bookman, 1.5-inch Bookman. These are a little tricky. I could do them any number of different ways, but I'm going to go ahead and use my 60-degree V-groove. I'm not sure what depth I'm going to be at. We'll just try it and we'll see how it works out. So I'm using my little Rigid 2401. Good little router. It's the one that I normally use with my 60-degree. And right now I think I've got it set at about 3/16. I don't know if that's going to be the right depth or not, but we're going to find out pretty quick here. For those of you that are kind of brand new, I don't really go by depth as much as I do width of cut. The width is what I'm more concerned about than the depth. All right. Let's get her going here.
All right, guys, I think you can get an idea of what I'm doing there. These are really tricky. Being as, you know, when I'm normally doing my Clarendon letters, again, these are Bookman. When I'm normally doing my Clarendon letters, I do a little dip at the top and the bottom. These are a lot more straight lines, and cutting them with this 60 degree, you could see that there's just not a lot of room for error. These are really tricky. I really have to concentrate, especially down in here. If you go back and watch the video down in here, you'll see that when I got into this board, it was really jumpy. And that's what I call, you know, soft, hard. Very grainy in this bottom board. I'll probably have more to deal with down here. Anyway, guys, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish all my inset letters on this side. I'll flip it over, finish the inset letters on the other side off camera. And this is actually, we're going long, so this is the last scene on this video. We got a lot done though. So we'll extend this out to one more video. Because again, special handling with two sides and all that. But when we come back, we'll get right into the outset letters on the next video. So, gosh, that's it, guys. Merry Christmas to you guys. Hope you guys are having a fantastic holiday. Remember what Christmas is all about. We do. So anyway, that's enough of that. If you have any questions, please email me, eric@makeawoodsign.com. If you need any supplies, there's the website. If you have a question for Vicky with Dave Signs at gmail.com. And what am I forgetting? Oh, I'm on Instagram, Make a Wood Sign. And we would love it for you to subscribe if you haven't subscribed to our channel. And we do this, do videos 4 times a week, over 1,000 videos now, which is crazy. But we got great things planned for 2020. Hope you guys come along for the ride. We love you. We'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.